Hello and welcome. I am Pranay Upadhyay and you are watching Namaste World, your daily window into the biggest stories shaping India and the world. We begin in South Asia. A Maulvi from Shopian, Kashmir emerges as the mastermind behind a nationwide terror network. Back in States, America pays honor to its 18 million veterans, celebrating service, sacrifice and true cost of freedom. Across the border, a deadly suicide blast rocks Islamabad, reigniting tensions and blame games between Pakistan and India. And the biggest story of the day, in a major energy shift, India's top refiners have paused Russian crude imports amid US sanctions, signaling a strategic pivot towards Middle Eastern and American suppliers. All that and more. Global flashpoints, power plays and the stories that matters. Coming up in this edition of Namaste World. In a major shift for India's energy import baskets, the country's top refiners, including Reliance, Bharat Petroleum and Hindustan Petroleum, are halting December orders for discounted Russian crude, marking the first such pause in months. This comes amid US sanctions on Russia's Rosneft and Lukoil, plus double tariffs on Indian imports. These indications of oil purchase changes are also expected to ease pressure, with President Donald Trump signaling a swift trade deal to slash penal tariffs for India. However, to fill the gap, India is turning towards Middle Eastern and even American suppliers for 2026 deliveries, while eyeing new export ties with New Zealand and EU. My colleague Karishma Asudani has more details. Let's listen in.
India's oil diplomacy is at a turning point. After nearly 3 years of heavily relying on discounted Russian crude oil, New Delhi is now quietly scaling back. For the first time in months, 5 of India's biggest refiners haven't placed a single order for Russian oil for December delivery. That's Reliance Industries, Bharat Petroleum, Hindustan Petroleum, Mangalore Refinery and HPCL Mittal Energy. Companies that nearly together make up nearly 2/3 of India's Russian oil imports this year. Now, there are two big reasons for this shift. First, it's the pressure from Washington. Last month, President Donald Trump sanctioned Russia's two biggest oil producers, Rosneft and Lukoil, as part of a wider effort to choke off Moscow's war revenues. At the same time, he doubled tariffs on all Indian imports to 50%, saying New Delhi's continued purchases of Russian crude were undermining US sanctions. Now that India is cutting back on those imports, Washington seems ready to ease off. This week, President Trump said the US is pretty close to a fair trade deal with India and confirmed that tariffs will be brought down soon. According to Indian officials, both sides have been working on the legal text of the agreement since October, and a signing could happen in the coming weeks. The US trade thaw comes at a time when India is also reaching out to other partners like New Zealand and to European Union to diversify its export market. Meanwhile, to replace the missing Russian barrels, Indian refiners are looking westward again. Indian Oil Corporation has already purchased crude from the Americas for early 2026 delivery, while Hindustan Petroleum has picked up US and Middle Eastern grades. Top executives also met with Saudi Aramco and Abu Dhabi National Oil Company in Abu Dhabi last week and secured supply assurances. So is this a short-term trade adjustment or a long-term strategic reset? For now, it looks like India is balancing energy security with diplomatic pragmatism.
So clearly, this is a pragmatic pivot balancing security and diplomacy. We are tracking this story very closely and we'll get you more details when we have developments on this front. A chilling twist from Kashmir's Shopian, where Irfan Ahmed Waga, a Maulvi turned mastermind, allegedly built a terror network of doctors and students linked to Jaish-e-Mohammed. From Faridabad to Delhi, educated youth were radicalized. How did he do it? Here is a report by Jyoti Shukla.
A chilling story is emerging from the heart of Jammu and Kashmir's Shopian district. A man once known as a Maulvi, Irfan Ahmed Waga, has reportedly turned out to be the mastermind behind one of India's most dangerous terror networks. Just a day after the massive explosive haul near Faridabad and the blast near Delhi's Red Fort, Irfan and his wife were arrested in a late-night raid by the Counterintelligence Kashmir and Srinagar police. Sources say the couple wasn't just part of the plot, they were its architects. Irfan allegedly built a radical network connecting Kashmir-based recruits with medical students and doctors in Haryana and Uttar Pradesh, the so-called white-collar terror module. So how did a Maulvi from Shopian manage to radicalize educated youth? Investigators say Irfan once worked at a government medical college in Srinagar, where he came in contact with students who regularly visited a mosque in Nogam. Over time, he reportedly began influencing them, introducing Jaish-e-Mohammed's extremist propaganda through Telegram, Threema, and encrypted calls with handlers based in Afghanistan's Nangarhar region. According to sources, he showed them videos, wartime sermons, and even held secret meetings online. One of his recruits, Dr. Shaheen Saeed, allegedly helped create a women's wing of Jaish called the Jamaat-ul-Ahrar and reportedly arranged funds for the Delhi car blast. According to a senior official, Irfan was the brain, Shaheen the facilitator. Other members like Dr. Muzammil and Dr. Umar, both connected to Al-Falah University in Faridabad, helped execute the plan on the ground. The first major clue came when Jaish posters surfaced in Nogam on the 19th of October. Soon, 3 locals were picked up, and during interrogation they named Irfan. That led investigators straight to his network. Doctors, students and operatives spread across Faridabad and Delhi. When the police raided the hideouts, they found 350 kilos of ammonium nitrate, weapons and even an AK-47. Another raid nearby uncovered over 2,500 kilos of suspected explosives, enough to cause mass destruction. Sources believe the module was planning coordinated attacks across multiple Indian states, reportedly in retaliation for the killing of Jaish Chief Masood Azhar's family during Operation Sindoor in Pakistan. With Irfan's arrest, investigators say a major terror plot has been foiled, one that could have been among the deadliest attacks on Indian soil in recent years. With Jyoti Shukla, Bureau Report, India Today Global.
November 11th at 11 a.m., a nation pauses. Veterans Day isn't just a date on the calendar. It's a solemn promise to honor the 18 million Americans who served, fought, and sacrificed for freedom. But as parade fades and ceremonies end, is the nation doing enough for those who once defended it? Here is a report by Devangana Datta.
November 11th, 11 a.m. A nation pauses. Veterans Day in America isn't just another holiday. It's a promise kept. A promise to honor every man and woman who wore the uniform and defended their country. Over 18 million veterans live in the United States today. This day belongs to them. The date itself tells a story. November 11, 1918, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. The moment World War I's guns finally fell silent. Originally called the Armistice Day, President Woodrow Wilson proclaimed it in 1919 to honor those who served in the Great War. By 1954, the mission expanded. The name changed to Veterans Day, recognizing heroes from every war, every era, every generation. Here's what makes it unique. Unlike Memorial Day, which mourns the fallen, Veterans Day celebrates all veterans, living and deceased. It's about gratitude, not grief. Every year at Arlington National Cemetery, a solemn ceremony unfolds at the tomb of the unknown soldier. Wreaths are laid and the ceremony draws national attention. This year, President Trump marked the day with a wreath-laying ceremony alongside Vice President J.D. Vance.
As you know, today is not only Veterans Day, but it's my proclamation that we are now going to be saying and calling Victory Day for World War I. Victory Day, you know, I was recently at an event and I saw France was celebrating Victory Day, but we didn't. And I saw France was celebrating another Victory Day for World War II. And other countries were celebrating. They were all celebrating. We're the one that won the wars. And I said, from now on, we're going to say Victory Day for World War I and World War II. And we could do for plenty of other wars, but we'll start with those two. Maybe someday somebody else will add a couple of more because we won a lot of good ones. But when I see other countries celebrating Victory Day, I watched it. I watched UK, I watched Russia. They were celebrating Victory Day, World War II. And I said, we got to have a Victory Day. Nobody even talked about it in our country. But from now on, we're going to be celebrating Victory Day for World War I, for World War II, and frankly, for everything else.
But Arlington is just the beginning. Across America, thousands of people participate in Veterans Day marches, with the largest one being held in New York City. Communities everywhere host ceremonies, parades, and educational programs. Schools close, banks close. The country stops to say thank you. And if you see someone wearing a red poppy, you'll know why. Inspired by the World War I poem In Flanders Field, the poppy has become the symbol of remembrance, resilience blooming from sacrifice. But beyond the ceremonies lies a pressing challenge. Post-traumatic stress disorder continues to affect a significant number of veterans who have experienced combat. Mental health advocates and veteran organizations emphasize that true recognition extends beyond symbolic gestures. It requires sustained investment in mental health resources, treatment programs, and addressing the stigma that often prevents veterans from seeking help. Veterans Day 2025 serves as a reminder that the cost of service extends far beyond the battlefield. As America honors its 18 million veterans, the focus increasingly shifts to ensuring they receive the support they need, not just in parades and ceremonies, but in access to mental health care, resources, and recognition of the challenges many face long after the service ends. From Arlington to local communities nationwide, November 11th remains a day when America collectively acknowledges a debt that can never be fully repaid. With Debangna Datta, Bureau Report, India Today Global.
A deadly suicide blast has rocked Pakistan's capital Islamabad, killing at least 12 people and injuring over 24 near a courthouse. The attacker struck just meters away from a police vehicle, triggering panic and chaos in the heart of the city. As accusations and denials fly, the question remains, who really orchestrated this attack? Here is a report by Farhan Khan.
A deadly suicide bombing has shaken Pakistan's capital, Islamabad. The blast took place outside a district courthouse, killing at least 12 people and injuring more than 27. Pakistani officials say the attacker had originally planned to enter the courthouse but was unable to get past security, so he detonated the explosive near a police vehicle instead.
ये बस अभी कुछ 35 मिनट्स हो गए हैं तो हम जो ही गाड़ियाँ पार्क करके अंदर गए हैं जस्ट मेन गेट से एंटर हुए हैं तो साथ ही एक ज़ोरदार धमाके की आवाज़ आई है बहुत बड़ा ब्लास्ट हुआ है और मुड़ के देखा तो बस आग ही आग थी और पार्ट्स ऑफ बॉडी थे बिखरे पड़े डेड बॉडीज़ थी और शोले आग के बुलंदी पे थे तो खौफ व रास का मामला था तो उसके बाद फिर पुलिस आ गई सिक्योरिटीज़ आ गई हम साइड पे हो गए लेकिन बहुत बड़ा ब्लास्ट था ऐसा लग रहा था कि जैसे किसी ने बम ब्लास्ट किया हो या बहुत बड़ा धमाका हुआ.
Footage from the scene showed a burnt-out car, smoke rising, and emergency teams rushing to help the wounded. Witnesses described chaos, people running for cover, vehicles catching fire, and bodies lying near the entrance gate. The explosion occurred around lunchtime when the courthouse area was crowded. Pakistan's Interior Minister Mohsin Naqvi has said authorities are working to identify the bomber and find everyone who may have supported the attack. The main question now is, who is responsible? A militant group called Jamaat-ul-Ahrar, a splinter faction of the Pakistani Taliban or the TTP, has claimed responsibility. But here's where things get confusing. The central leadership of the TTP says it had nothing to do with the attack. They have reportedly told journalists that the organization was not involved. This suggests either internal divisions within militant networks or that another group is trying to take credit to Project Strength. Now, the political controversy. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has accused militant groups backed by India of being behind the attack. He called it part of what he described as Indian terrorist proxies targeting Pakistan. However, India has strongly and immediately denied these allegations, calling them baseless, unfounded, and completely false. And importantly, there is no publicly available evidence linking India to this attack. These accusations appear to be political messaging, something we have seen many times before when tensions rise between the two countries. It's also worth noting that Pakistan has been facing a resurgence of domestic militancy over the last 2 years, especially from groups operating along the Afghan border. So the far more likely explanation is internal extremist violence, not cross-border orchestration. Meanwhile, the attack also comes just a day after a car blast in India's capital, Delhi, which killed 13 people. Indian authorities have not labelled that incident a terror attack yet, but the case has been handed to the country's anti-terror agency. Both sides are now dealing with explosions on their soil, and both are promising justice. But here's the key difference. India has not blamed Pakistan. Pakistan, on the other hand, immediately tried to blame India, despite militants openly claiming involvement. The focus now should be on credible investigations, not political point scoring. Your report, India Today Global.
As we wrap up today's show, here is a quick look at the top stories making waves around the world. In a powerful display of strength, under the ongoing tri-service Trishul drill, the Indian Army showcased a combat readiness through exercise Marujwala in Rajasthan's Jaisalmer near the Pakistan border. Tensions flared at the COP30 climate summit in Brazil as dozens of indigenous protesters stormed the venue, clashing with security and demanding urgent forest protection. A Turkish military plane crashes in Georgia, killing 20 soldiers in Turkey's deadliest incident since 2020. And that brings us to the end of today's edition of Namaste World. From breakthroughs in technology and business to political developments and natural disasters. Stay tuned as we bring you the latest updates, key developments, and more from New Delhi to New York. See you again tomorrow at the same time right here on Namaste World.